The storm swirled around Nathan, fierce winds whipping through the courtyard, carrying with them the scent of rain and earth. For a fleeting moment, everything felt suspended in time. The world held its breath, waiting for his decision. Nathan's heart raced as he contemplated the weight of the eraser in his hand. One last chance to change everything. What could possibly hold more significance than all he had already erased? The darkness loomed, threatening to consume not just the city, but the world itself. People were suffering, and he had the power to put an end to it. But with great power came the overwhelming burden of choice. As Nathan stood there, he felt the eyes of the world upon him. And he knew that whatever he chose would not just affect him, it would ripple through the fabric of existence itself. Suddenly, a memory surged to the forefront of Nathan's mind. A quiet afternoon in a small cafe, the sunlight streaming through the windows, illuminating Lila's laughter as they shared stories over coffee. The warmth of that moment felt so distant now. A stark contrast to the tempest surrounding him. Remember the good times, Lila's voice echoed in his mind. They're worth holding on to. He could still hear her laughter. See the way her eyes sparkled with life. And yet, in the face of the world's suffering, what did a moment of joy matter? But then another thought flickered through his consciousness. What if erasing those moments was the very thing that led to the suffering? What if the cycle of pain could be broken not by erasing everything bad, but by cherishing the good? Nathan realized that the choice before him was more complex than he had initially thought. In the midst of the storm, a familiar figure stepped into view. Ezekiel, with his sturdy frame and unwavering gaze, walked towards Nathan, rainwater streaming down his face. "Nathan," he shouted above the roar of the wind. "What are you doing? I have to make this choice." "Ezekiel," Nathan shouted back, his voice filled with urgency. "There's so much at stake." "I understand that," Ezekiel replied, his voice steady amidst the chaos. "But what are you hoping to achieve with this final erasure? Are you certain that erasing something will bring peace? Or will it just leave a void that darkness will fill again?" Nathan felt a flicker of doubt. "I thought it would bring change, but what kind of change?" Ezekiel interrupted, his eyes piercing through the storm. "You can't erase pain without erasing joy. You can't erase darkness without erasing light. You have the power to shape reality. But you must choose wisely." Nathan's heart sank. "But what if I don't choose? What if I leave everything as it is?" "Then you accept the world as it is, for better or for worse," Ezekiel said, stepping closer. "Sometimes that is the hardest choice of all. But it's not always wrong." Nathan's grip on the pencil tightened, the eraser almost gone. But Ezekiel's words began to pierce through the fog in his mind. He thought of the people he had saved, the lives he had changed. The countless moments of joy and laughter that still existed. Even amidst the darkness. Suddenly, the world shifted in Nathan's mind. Instead of erasing something, he could make a different choice. Instead of erasing the darkness, he could illuminate the light. He could forge a new path forward, not by erasing everything, but by emphasizing hope and resilience. As if sensing the change in Nathan's heart, the storm began to calm. The winds died down. The thunder faded into a distant rumble, and the rain turned into a gentle drizzle. Nathan looked at Ezekiel, and for the first time, he felt clarity. "You're right," he said, his voice steady. "I don't have to erase everything. I can choose to embrace the good while acknowledging the bad. I can remind people that there's still beauty in the world." Ezekiel smiled, relief washing over his features. "That's it. Sometimes the greatest erasure isn't in taking away darkness but in bringing forth light." With newfound determination, Nathan lowered the pencil. The eraser still intact but now transformed in his mind. He understood that he didn't need to use it on the world's suffering. Instead, he could focus on creating a future filled with hope. But even with this realization, one last thought lingered. What if there was still something worth erasing, something personal, something that had haunted him throughout his journey, shaping his very existence? He thought of his immortality, the curse that had bound him to this power, the burden he carried. What if, instead of erasing the world's pain, he chose to erase his own endless life? Would that be the ultimate act of sacrifice? With a heavy heart, Nathan raised the pencil again. He could feel the eraser's warmth, its magic thrumming in his palm. But this time, he wasn't erasing pain or darkness, he was contemplating freedom. "I can let go," he whispered, his voice trembling. "I can choose to be free." Ezekiel's expression turned grave. "Are you sure you want to do this, Nathan? You have so much to offer. The world needs heroes like you." Nathan nodded, tears forming in his eyes. "But I'm tired of the burden, tired of living in a world that feels so broken. If I can't erase the darkness, then maybe I can bring a little peace by letting go." He took a deep breath, his mind clear. This is my final choice. With that, Nathan closed his eyes, feeling the weight of his decision settle over him like a warm embrace. He pressed the eraser against his own memories, against the weight of his existence, and with one final stroke, he erased his immortality. The world around him faded, the storm dissipating as the pencil slipped from his fingers, falling into the wet earth below. Nathan felt light, as if a great weight had been lifted from his shoulders. For the first time in centuries, he felt human. The pain and suffering that had once defined his existence began to dissolve, replaced by memories of joy, love, and laughter. He could see Lila's smile, hear her laughter, feel the warmth of the sun on his face. As the world blurred and began to fade, Nathan realized he was no longer bound by his power. He could finally let go, free from the chains of immortality. And in that moment, he understood, erasure wasn't about taking away life's pain. It was about creating space for something new to grow.